The true location of the Tower of Babel. Continuing my series on the possibility that biblical history possibly happened in the Americas. Today we're going to talk about the true location of the Tower of Babel. So, what is the Tower of Babel? According to the Bible, a united human race speaking a single language and migrating eastward comes to the land of Shinar. There they agree to build a city and a tower with its top in the sky reaching the heavens. Yahweh, observing their city and tower, confounds their speech so that they can no longer understand each other and scatters them around the world. In the book of Genesis, it states that Babel was formed as part of Nimrod's kingdom. The Bible does not specifically mention that Nimrod ordered the building of the tower, but many other sources have associated its construction with Nimrod. The story of the building of the tower can be found in Genesis 11 verses 1 through 9. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, and they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city, and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down there, confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from hence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Thereof is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So this is one of the first times humanity got together for a project. During this project, the whole earth was of one language. The book of Jasher details the goal of humanity when it came to building this tower to reach the heavens. Jasher 9 verse 26. And all these people and all the families divided themselves into three parts. The first said, We will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, We will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, We will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. Verse 27, And when they were building, they built themselves a great city, and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year. And after that they reached to the builders, and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended, and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. So at this time, the fallen angels who were worshipped by mankind got them so focused on this project that if during the construction a brick fell and broke, they would weep over it, and they would not care if a man fell and died. So the goal of humanity at this time was to try and kill God, and place their own gods in the heavens to worship and serve them. So that is the basic story of the Tower of Babel. Now the real question is, where is the true location of the Tower of Babel? Now we are told by scholars throughout the world that the real Tower of Babel was in the heart of Iraq. The Tower of Babel stood at the very heart of the vibrant metropolis of Babylon in what is today Iraq. So that's the story they give us, is that ancient Babylon was in Iraq. However, according to the Bible, this does not make sense. A subscriber recently pointed out something very interesting to me on one of my videos. I was listening to the book of Ezra the other day and found a nugget. Ezra chapter 7 verse 9. On the first day of the first month, he began his journey from Babylon, and on the first day of the 5th month, he came to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his God upon him. It took Ezra 4 months to travel from Babylon to Jerusalem. According to the world, ancient Babylon is just south of Baghdad, Iraq. And Baghdad is just 9 days walking distance to Jerusalem. This means that the true location of Babylon was 4 months walking distance away from the true location of Israel, and not only 9 days. The modern day locations on maps are a scam. And this is very true. Where they tell us that Babylon once was, which is in Baghdad, Iraq, is only a 9-day walking trip if you look at the maps. Now, of course, this probably doesn't account for breaks, sleeping, eating, but even when you account the breaks, the max it would take him is 16 to 20 days walking from modern day Jerusalem to Babylon. So according to the Bible, that does not make sense because it's actually a 4-month walking trip. So what this means is that the real location of the Tower of Babel was somewhere else. There's a very interesting location called René-Levasseur Island in Quebec, Canada. And the highest peak on the circular island is called Mount Babel. It's a very interesting large circular formation, which they tell us that it's a natural geological structure that was formed by the impact of a meteor 214 million years ago. Now, of course, I myself do not believe that story. I think the circular formation was formed by an impact from the heavens, but it wasn't a meteorite. It was God's wrath. As I've stated in previous videos, one of the most fruitful things you can study in the Bible is what God's wrath looks like. Every time God destroys a city or a nation, often it's always in the form of a consuming fire. In fact, in the book of Hebrews, it says that our God is a consuming fire. Throughout the Bible, it talks about God's wrath consuming palaces and kingdoms and the works of the earth, with the fire so hot that it melts kingdoms. And this isn't metaphorical, this is very literal. And I believe the same thing happened to the Tower of Babel. He consumed it with fire, destroyed it, confounded the languages of humanity, and split them up. So it's very interesting that this circular formation called René-Levasseur Island in Quebec, Canada, has a mountain on this island called Mount Babel, which is the highest peak. In my first video, I talked about the possibility that the land of milk and honey was in California, and I explained my reasons. So I think it's quite possible that ancient Jerusalem possibly could have been in California. And when you look at the maps, the walking distance from California to Quebec City, which is near René-Levasseur, which is near Mount Babel, it says that to walk from California to Quebec City, it would take 41 days and 10 hours. And again, that's not counting the breaks or sleeping. Plus, to get to René-Levasseur Island and to get to Mount Babel in the middle, you would have to walk even further than that, which would probably take 60 to 70 days of consistent walking, according to the map. And again, not taking into account sleeping, breaks, eating. But if you do take those things into account, the entire trip would take about 3 to 4 months of walking, or possibly longer. And as the book of Esdras says, to get from Babylon to Jerusalem, it's a 4-month walking trip. So we know that biblically it does not make sense for Babylon to be in Baghdad, Iraq, because the walking distance from Baghdad, Iraq to Jerusalem is less than a month, not even 2 months. So is it possible this large circular formation is what's left of the ancient city of Babylon and the Tower of Babel? What's funny is when you go on Google and you look up Mount Babel in Quebec, Canada, it seems to be that people are catching on to the possibility that this was the location of the true ancient Tower of Babel. One person leaves 5 stars and states, "People are waking up to the truth, the real Tower of Babel. All praises to the Most High." So maybe René-Levasseur is what's left of ancient Babylon, and maybe Mount Babel, the highest peak on this island, is what's left of the ancient Tower of Babel, after God's consuming wrath. I hope you guys found this very fruitful and interesting. I will be continuing this series. Thank you so much for watching and for all the support. I do have a patron. Joining helps me afford more material such as books to make more content. So if you'd like to support this channel, the link is in the bio below. And if you have any recommendations for materials or books to purchase concerning this type of content, please let me know. Please like, share, and comment your thoughts. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for watching and joining. And we are out.